Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Pisces, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of August 2023. I hope you are well. I'm using the Night Sun Tarot for you in an absolutely, completely unsurprising turn of events because it's come out for everybody. I think, more or less, for the monthlies. It's certainly come out for all of the personal readings that I've been doing. So, big spiritual shifts for everyone ahead. I think it's safe to say. Now, before the reading begins, if it resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's the first link in the description box. The second link in the description box is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix, over on Circle. You get access to all the extended content for no extra cost, plus you get to hang out with an extraordinary group of people, and having met a lot of them over Zoom in this last week, I can absolutely testify to the fact that they're extraordinary. So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, please do feel free to avail yourself of that link. Right, Pisces, let's have a look and see what's going on with you. And I have 3 cards for Pisces, please. Ooh, there's the first one. We have the 9 of Pentacles. Oh, make sure I press the right button here. Every time I get button blindness, it's ridiculous. Right, there we are. We have the 9 of Pentacles. Current energy for Pisces, please. 6 of Pentacles. And what's coming towards Pisces? Thank you. 8 of Pentacles. Right. All right then. We have the Death card at the bottom of the deck here. Now, obviously, the Death card is the card of Scorpio in the Major Arcana. It does speak to endings, but it speaks to endings in terms of transition. You know, when we look at the Death card, we've got the sense that something needs to die in order that something be reborn. And that isn't, you know, a notice of impending loss. It's more that which we choose to release in favour of, you know, what it is that we want to embrace. Because space has to be created. You know, if you think about your life and your energetic experience, all those kind of things, think of it like a room. You know, there's only so much shit you can pile into it before you get to the point where you can't open the door anymore. And at that point, you know, whether this is emotional baggage or any of those other things, you have to get in there and clean the room out, right? You have to look around at what's in there. Is it still serving you? Is this something that is useful? Or is it just got piled under, well, trapped under piles of stuff, and you're like, well, I don't even know why I kept that, and you know, throw it out. It's a transition. And it's quite a profound transition too. The interesting thing for you, obviously, as we can see here on the table, is that it is all absolutely revolving around the Pentacles suit. Now, I do not read the Pentacles to represent simply money. I know some people do, and that's cool, that's for them. For me, the Pentacles represent energetic currency. So whenever we have Pentacles cards arising, we have this notion of whatever it is that you are choosing to invest in. And often there's a material component to that. So we can take that being, you know, your security, your stability, financial or otherwise, and whatnot. But we are also talking to where it is that you put your attention. You know, how are you spending your time? Is it productive? Because I think this is a big one here. The focus is on what you focus on. I'm going to pull some more cards out before I say anything else. But I think it's safe to say that we've got a shift of focus. Pretty much. Tell me about the 9 of Pentacles, please. Ooh, there we go. We've got the Queen of Cups. That's Cancer energy. Tell me about this. And we've got the 4 of Cups showing that way around. Tell me about this 6 of Pentacles, please. We have the Lovers card. That's Gemini. And we have the Temperance card. That is Sagittarius. And what about the 8 of Pentacles? 2 of Pentacles and the Judgment card. Yeah, this is really quite big, and it does speak to an overhaul. I think this is what we're talking about. We're talking about an absolute shift of focus from one thing to another, and an overhaul, perhaps of how you spend your days, what it is that you do in the day to day, or what it is that you are looking to work towards. Now, I guess we can't really get away from the fact, and neither should we try even, that we just have experienced a nodal shift. The nodes of the moon have moved from Taurus and Scorpio, North Node and South Node respectively, into the signs of Aries and Libra instead. And this is, I think it's a welcome boost of energy for everyone. It's not that it's just going to affect Aries and Libra specifically. It's a welcome boost for everyone in terms of how they centre themselves, what they need, what it is that they feel driven and passionate to go after, how they assert themselves. Interestingly, there was one thing that came through in the meditation before I started your reading, the ones that I do before I do any reading, and it was the fact that there's something quite authoritative about you at the moment, Pisces. And I don't know if this is something that you're having, an experience of now, or whether this is a shift that's come in that's here to stay. It doesn't mean that you're aggressive, it doesn't mean that you're overly assertive, but there's certainly there's more of a relaxed feeling around asserting boundaries and whatnot, and perhaps because you've been working on it for quite a long time now. But when you speak, people listen. And I think for a sign that quite often has been used to not being heard, some signs are obvious and they're kind of in your face. I would absolutely categorise all the fire signs as that kind of energy there, right? You can't really miss them when they're in a room. And if they speak and nobody hears them, the chances are they're going to say it again and they're going to say it louder until somebody does listen. It's a very different kind of energy coming from you. It's quiet. It's not looking, I think, necessarily to influence anyone. But for some reason, when you open your mouth, people are turning to listen to what you have to say. And I think that's very, very cool. It's just a sideline thing, but I thought I'd drop it in there because it was very, very specific. So, we start off with the Nine of Pentacles. And if you've watched any of my videos before, you know that I have this... the way that I read the nines is it is all about the individual management of whatever element suit it is that they represent. So in this case here, this being energetic currency and energetic resources, this is about how you manage those. Right? Where is your money going? Where is your attention going? What is it that you're investing in at the moment? We would hope that one is investing in oneself, but there are lots of ways that that can happen, and it doesn't all have to be, bubble baths and nice haircuts and things like that. It can be taking the time to look around your material environment and going, have I got everything that I need, or do I require a little bit more? In some circumstances, might I require a little less because things are starting to get cluttered? Ultimately, it's about understanding that your energetic resources perhaps sit in a bucket, right? Here are my resources. Where are they going? Are they being spread too thinly? Can you pull some of them back to you? Now, Pisces likes to break down barriers between things. So maybe you don't like them being in a bucket. Maybe you like them being a bit more spread around. And that's absolutely fine, provided that you are the one who is exercising control about where it is that they go. And that control is kind of in a loose Piscean sense. Although I do feel like you're becoming much more disciplined about what you allow yourself to feel and what you don't. And I would include in now what you allow yourself to take in from other people and what you don't. We're kind of back to this idea of boundaries again, right? We've got that Queen of Cups there. It's cardinal water to your mutable water. And it's initiation. all of the cardinal signs initiate something. And what we have is a process here by way you are initiating, or you have initiated something new. Now, the Queen of Cups is receptivity squared, right? Cups are, well, water specifically is receptive, queens are receptive, and so you've got super receptivity going on here. But it's about the way that you manage that receptivity, because your receptivity in and of itself is going to be one of your energetic resources, right? And I love the fact that the Queen of Cups has come up here to indicate that, you know, you're paying attention to this, you're having a look. I mean, I think in a lot of ways it can be very difficult to be a Pisces, particularly in the earlier part of life, because you kind of walk around and you just suck stuff up. And I think, as one of my clients put in a personal reading earlier this week, like, nothing is abnormal until it's pointed out. And I've very much experienced the same thing myself. I actually started sucking up physical symptoms from other people, and the interesting thing was, like, I was absolutely fit as a flea at that point. I was competing for the club and, you know, just ripped generally. I didn't have any physical issues at all, but I would be with a particular group and I'd be sucking stuff up and I'd be going, oh my God. And it would be during meditations, right? So obviously I'm kind of opening up in the meditation and I'm just literally sucking physical physical sensations up off other people. One was absolutely crippling back pain, which lasted for as long, it was a chakra meditation that we were doing, and it lasted for as long as it took me to get to the throat chakra. Once it moved past there, it just went like that. And at the end of my meditation, I went, whose is the crippling back pain? My God. And this woman head swiveled around and she went, was that you? And I went, what? And she said, my back pain has gone. Like, I have chronic back pain. She said, and it's just gone. I saw her the next week. She was like, it was a full 4 days before it came back. And I was like, wow. But from that point on, I just started to pick up all sorts of things. And just from that experience there, I can kind of extrapolate up to a certain degree and attempt to imagine what it must be like to be a Pisces and just walk around and just pull all of those things in. Now, the biggest issue that you've had for you over the last few years is kind of wrestling with this sense of self. How do I create one when actually everything about me energetically just wants to spread out all of the time? Yeah, I described it as being a bit like mist. You know, you try and keep that out of a garden, you can't do it, it's drifting around. You also try and capture it and put it in a box, and what have you got? Like, just a bit of condensed water. You know, it's substanceless, but without being insubstantial. You know, without lacking substance. I guess I would put it that way. So all of this work that you've been doing over the past couple of years about you seems to me to be beginning to bear fruit in a way that is tangible and evident to you. And I would go as far as to say it has improved your quality of life considerably. Because if you pick up the good things and you'll pick up the bad things too. And without being able to understand whether this is something that is yours and therefore requires some kind of some sort of course of behaviour, or whether it belongs to somebody else and equally requires some sort of course of behaviour, and kind of put the boundaries up and go, well, I don't really want that, so I'm going to put that out there. I mean, I wonder if some of you have been just simply taking a break from social media and things like that. Just like, I'm going to take a break from that until I work out what it is that I want to take in, and then only allow those things in here. That Four of Cups is an interesting card to be there. Because usually I talk about this in terms of things like rejection and abandonment issues, or if it turns up in the reverse, then it means quite simply to me gratitude. It just stops there, just gratitude. But it's come up sideways and it feels like it's something different for you. Any card numbered for me is that of foundation, right? We think about the shape of a square, right? It's a footprint upon which all other things are placed. And so the Four of Cups here for me seems to be speaking more to an emotional foundation that you are creating for yourself. And what begins to get even more fascinating about it is that it is in part built on rejection, because you are rejecting the things that you have taken in that you don't want and don't belong to you. But it's also done with a sense of gratitude that you now have the skills to be able to ascertain which one of these is actually correct for you. It's an accomplished skill, and it's one that's been very hard won. It's very subtle, but it's very, very powerful, because it's given you back to you, I feel, which is absolutely outstanding. Now, when we come into your energy, your current energy here, we have the Six of Pentacles. It's Moon in Taurus, and so, with the influence of the Moon, but it's got this kind of sideways interpretation for me of literal emotional stability. When you think about Taurus and what Taurus is known for, sometimes it can be fixed rigidity, a fear of moving around at all. But the other side of it is stable, secure, solid. But it's always going to be through the Pisces lens. So the mutability that you have as mutable water is going to be a lot more flexible. It's going to be a lot more fluid than it would be experienced by Taurus. But nevertheless, it seems to be very grounded. Like, your energy is very, very grounded at the moment. But in a way that does not feel restrictive to you. It doesn't feel like you've been anchored to a spot. It's like, no, I'm just carrying this stability around with me. And because I am picking and choosing my experiences, internal experiences, as, sucked up off other people, everything just feels good at the moment. Now, Taurus is a sign of abundance. The Moon is the internal place, so there's a kind of internal abundance that's going on here. I wonder if you're feeling a little bit magic at the moment, Pisces. And there could be all sorts of things that are contributing to this. This sudden surprise authority that's just come from nowhere. It doesn't feel to you like you're walking around asking for it, demanding it, commanding it, perhaps. The shift seems to have been in the way that other people relate to you. So you open your mouth and you say a thing, and perhaps you might be used to, it not really being heard, but it's okay because it's just out there and it's floating around. And instead, like I said, everybody's turning around to look at you, and they're seeing that different perspective, or they're taking something from what you say that seems to be really striking home with them at the moment. And we've got the Lovers card and the Temperance card there, and they're both very, very beautiful cards. Energetically speaking, as the Lovers card is all about conscious co-creation. It's a Gemini card. It talks of the way that people can be brought together, because it talks about union and harmony and all those kind of things. I mean, 6 in numerology refers to family, community, togetherness, right? That sense of the collective. It's something that it's very difficult for a lot of people to experience in a true sense, because of the level of division that there is at the moment. I'm not just talking about political division or ideological division or anything like that. It's that separateness from the whole that seems to have become somewhat endemic in Western society, at least. And Saturn Pisces, your sign there, and and Saturn, the planet of hard work and all those kind of things, they seem to be working together to be bringing people back to this idea that there is something collective, there's some kind of collective experience that, regardless of what sign you are, and regardless of your race, creed, colour, all those kind of things, there's a unity that can be achieved somewhere. And I think because you are an archetypal representation of that unity, you are the last sign in the zodiac, you are the culmination of all of the lessons that have been received before. I mean, I read something the other day that said that that they viewed the zodiacal wheel as a process of healing. and that it made more sense if, rather than you looking at it as disparate parts, you see it as a working whole. Like, you know, that Aries, the energy of initiation, going right the way through, you know, at the back end of the year, you've got the visionaries who need to be able to have a view of the future that is not in any way apparent in, you know, the barrenness of winter. So, you know, Sagittarius has the vision. Capricorn goes, right, cool, what systems and structures can we put in place to affect this vision? And then Aquarius goes, but did it work? It's testing it. It's like, is it actually really any good? Do we need to go back to the drawing board, or can we allow this to progress? And by the time it gets to your sign, Pisces, it's like, has it brought us all closer together? You know, is this something I can now swim in? I hate to use the fish analogies all the time. I know my Pisces daughter actually flipped her biscuits at me. Not at me, but like in my general direction a few months ago. And she said, whenever you try and find anything that's Pisces related, from an imagery point of view, it's just fish. She said, and any analogies that people write when they're talking about Pisces, just fish. So I'm probably going to piss her off with that. But I do feel that quite strongly. It's like, literally, can I fucking swim in this? Is it pure enough for me to swim in, or is it tainted? You know, does this water need to be cleaned? Is it clear? Is it full of minerals? Is it nourishing? Is it actually representing a stage of completion that we can allow, so that we move on to the next phase of improvement? Like, you're the barometer, I guess, Pisces. And this Lover's card, speaking of manifestation and whatnot, makes me feel like you are in a position to be able to exercise your free will in a way that hasn't been quite as direct as you are currently experiencing it before. I'm going to pull some more cards out now. Actually, let's go with the John Bauer, because it's just awesome. Tell me about the Lover's card, please. We have, oh, look at that. We have the Ten of Pentacles and the Sun, or the Sun and the Ten of Pentacles, depending on which way you read it. I actually don't. We're going to put the Major last, because that's the way it is. We've got the Nine of Cups at the bottom of the deck. Right, there's another card numbered 9. It talks about your ability to manage your own emotions. In the first instance, and I say that because of something that's literally just occurred to me that I've never really thought of before. And I like this because I'm a Capricorn ascendant, and I like it when I notice a structure, whether it's energetic or otherwise, right? Something that's efficient, something that's a really good system. And maybe an additional way to view the cards that are numbered 9 is by way of seeing it as a staged process. So that the initial idea of the management of whatever suit it is that we're talking about at any given point in this point, you know, 9 of Cups and the 9 of Pentacles, the very first stage of that, the initiation stage of that, is how are you managing these things? And when that management is good, when it's functioning efficiently, it operates somewhat like an open door. So from here, in the good management of these things, the door that opens to us is the ability to feel independent, the ability to actually be self-sufficient, take care of our own needs, and also generate more of whatever this is. It's very self-possessed, I think. In the 9 of Cups, there's your emotional management. And if you've got your emotional management under control, instead of it controlling you, then the portal that opens up for you and what it is that you're able to walk through is the manifestation of your wishes and your desires. And perhaps that is so because we're not allowing any self-sabotage to get in the way of the very pure desire that we have for that thing. You know, most of the reason why manifestation doesn't work for people is because either they want something so bad it actually becomes the idea of getting it is something that subconscious interprets as a threat, or it's because people are trying to manifest things that aren't actually what they need. So as a reference point, about 4 or 5 months before I got my eviction notice from my landlord back in 2021, I woke up one day and I became absolutely seized with the idea of buying a house. Absolutely, like, obsessed. And I was like, where the fuck has this come from? You're never going to be able to afford a house, you know? And it was on my mind a lot. And I feel like it was actually a heads up from the universe that you were about to have some major fucking housing issues, you know? And I tried very hard to manifest a house. I was like, this should not be a hard thing. I had no issue with manifesting houses before. This is not a problem, right? The house always just turns up. There it is. Often the house moves up before the house turns up before I've even made the decision that I want to move. And in this case, it just wasn't happening. And I tried so hard. I really did. I had the entire Taurus collective all rooting for me as well. And you know, you imagine the power of Tauruses and the manifestation of a house, right? I had thousands of them all like willing this to happen too, and it wasn't happening. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? I refuse to believe that I am so powerful that in some way I am blocking this. But when I really sat with it, and it took a while, and I did a bit of digging around inside me, what I realised what it was that I was trying to manifest for myself was security. And it was a kind of internal security and an internal stability that could not be taken from me. And this was the thing, because my landlord and my ex-husband were essentially working in tandem to evict me and the children. The real root of the issue was that I felt powerless to stop people interfering in my life and jeopardising my security and my stability and my ability to be able to provide those things for my children, which, as you can imagine, is really, really important. My subconscious had absolutely, my conscious mind had absolutely fixated on a real structure. It's got to have 4 walls and a roof, right? And enough bedrooms to put all of the children in, and we'll take it from there. But what my subconscious actually wanted me to manifest was this, like I said, this feeling of you can't fuck with me. Now, fuckery is going to happen, in the material world all of the time. We can put things in place to try and mitigate it or minimise the possibility of it happening. But ultimately, fuckery is always just going to happen. And the purpose of spiritual growth, I think, is not to eliminate the possibility of issues ever arising in the future. More, it is to allow yourself to know that whatever turns up, you are in a position to be able to deal with it because you are strong, you are stable, you are secure. There's no panicking, there's no knee-jerk reactions. It's that point of connecting with what your true desires actually are rather than what you think they are, because they can be very different things. And as soon as I did that, everything started to move. It was absolutely wild. I was impressed, but I wasted an entire fucking year being like, before I got to that place. To be fair, it wasn't quite a year. I think it was 9 months, actually. By the time we hit the turn of the year, I started to understand that there was something else going on here, and maybe it wasn't just the structure. And yeah, over the course of the next couple of months, everything changed. And then I ended up here, which was amazing. Anyway, you seem to me to be very consciously aware of what it is that you want to manifest. And it's a direct connection to what you want to manifest. The thing that you want to manifest could be potentially kind of abstract, but there's enough of a connection to it that you know it when you'll have it. And that might be exactly as I said, internal security and stability. Whatever's happening, whatever fuckery the world throws at you, that's okay, because you're stable and secure. I mean, for some of you, it might actually be a literal house with that Ten of Pentacles there. But the Ten of Pentacles also has those additional meanings of things like community, like togetherness. I mean, it could be for you putting down roots somewhere. And we have the Sun card. And this is the thing, it's the combination of the Lover's card of manifestation and the Sun, like the direct conscious link to what it is that you want to create. I mean, for some of you, it might actually have you moving away from a particular community or whatever. But whichever way it is for you, we've got that Temperance card. In the first instance, mirroring the other feelings that we get from the Six of Pentacles, which is that state of balance, things needing to be brought into balance, or things actually having achieved a sense of balance. Temperance card is saying a very similar kind of message. We've got that balance, equilibrium. Things have all kind of come to where they need to be, and there's an alchemy with this card here. It's taking things that are difficult and washing them and releasing them out again. And I've always thought that was something that Pisces do naturally. Certainly the point of taking in everybody else's kind of dirty washing and attempting to give it a scrub. But while you haven't been able to work out whether this is yours or whether this is somebody else's, it's like all of your washing got jumbled up, and now you've had to sit and pick through and go, well, that's not my sock, that's not my pair of underwear, my set of underwear. This stuff's mine over here. I'm going to wash it, I'm going to dry it. And once I've got that done, that's my priority. If I've got anything left over and I want to, I might do everybody else's as well. I might. But my priority is this. I've got the Ten of Wands in reverse, which is wonderful. And I've got the Six of Cups. I mean, the Ten of Wands is a card of burden. We can talk about it in terms of working too hard and all that kind of thing, but there's a distinct sense with the 10 being in the reverse here, that there's that, rather than you pushing to the point of breaking, understanding that you can put things down far, far earlier than that. It's within your power to do so, and you have the right to do so, and particularly with regard to things that have occurred in the past. This is a Scorpio card here, and the South Node has just been dredged. The South Node has just dredged Scorpio to bring up all of the things that have been difficult, so we can process them and release them. And it seems to be something that you're able to do now, in your own inimitable way, much more easily than you were before. We're kind of coming to a state of completion here. I said, excuse me, I do think that there are shifts going on for everyone currently. There are things that are just closing up quite naturally, and there are things that are opening up. But it's the shift of focus towards what it is that we want to open up for ourselves. That's where the manifestation is. That's where the conscious decision-making process is lying here with you. And it's, I'm not going to be burdened. I'm not going to allow myself to be burdened by the past, in whatever sense that applies, because the alchemy and the healing that we associate with the Temperance card is manifesting itself in that way of knowing that you can pour from one cup into another. I mean, I love the imagery that Kim Kranz has put on this card here of the stork. With this, we've got the alchemy here, we've got fire and water, the water is coming off the stalk and it seems to be turning into the fire as it's hitting the ground right there. But the stalk is bringing a bundle. Because I don't know if this is imagery, this is just something that is in... I don't know if this is a Western thing or whether this is just a UK thing, but stalks bring babies. That's for some reason. I don't know why that would be. I guess it's probably because they appear right at the beginning of spring. And spring is associated with fertility and all those kind of things, right? So anyway, you'll have to let me know whether, for you culturally in your country, stalks are associated with the arrival of babies. But the arrival of a baby symbolically is the start of something new, and it's the fact that it feels so inherently personal. Pisces. It's not a mismatch patchwork of everybody else's thoughts and feelings and fears, perhaps, other people's anxieties about things. There's something, as I said before, that feels very self-possessed about the way that you're moving around in the world now. And maybe it is because you've protected yourself with the filtration systems of a sense of self that it's been necessary for you to install. But as something is coming to completion, there is the potential of an immediate new arrival. The thing is, I'm not sure that this baby is ready to hatch just yet, as it were. Because I think there's a little bit of rearranging of your personal circumstances that you feel to me like you need to get on with first. And that's not me instructing you to get on with them. I think that's happening really quite holistically for you. Maybe some of the energy here is actually Virgo. I'm sure Mars is in Virgo right now. I've never been so fucking grateful for Virgo energy, I swear to God. Usually I just like everything to be in Leo, right? Because I'm a Leo, and that's kind of how we roll. Like everything should just be Leo. But I've been really grateful for the transition into Virgo because it sounds ridiculous, right? I've just started writing lists again. I haven't written lists in ages. I used to do that religiously because it's how I got things done, and it occurred to me about a week and a half ago that I don't do that anymore. And I was like, why don't I do that anymore? That was actually something that I found to be quite useful, and it helped me be a little bit more efficient. So I started writing lists. My God, I've done more in the last week than I've done in the last month and a half. Because I'm allowing myself to be focused instead of allowing myself to drift. I mentioned, I think it might actually have been to Virgo, how I'd watched a podcast by Andrew Huberman and Tim Billieux on dopamine detox, and realised that I'd been completely guilty of sitting and just scrolling mindlessly, or putting on a video so I could listen to a video while I was, doing something that was fairly inconsequential. And I was like, right, fuck, well, I'm going to stop that. And I did. And I started writing lists, and I just feel like Virgo's just helped me tidy up my fucking energy. And maybe Virgo is working on you in the same way, where there's this desire to shift around your circumstances somewhat. Maybe it is to become more grounded and rooted to a particular area, to a particular thing, to a particular idea. We can see those absolutely being the case. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's looking at your income and going, actually, right, I need to overhaul this a little bit because I can utilise this money better than I have been doing. Maybe there's some sort of thing that, there's some sort of goal that you want to save for. But in order to do that, you have to tidy up what you've got first. The presence of the Pentacles, although they're energetic currency for me, that there is always that material backdrop. Because wherever your attention goes, that's where your energy is going to flow, and that's where the most concrete manifestations are going to occur, whether or not they're ephemeral in nature, whether or not you're trying to manifest a house, or whether you're just trying to manifest more time for yourself so you can do things that are more interesting. It all seems to be weaving together really rather beautifully. And we come back to this idea that whatever it is that you're looking to hatch out into the world, and at this point I'm going to draw in the Empress card, because the Empress always has that as a meaning that is sitting in the background there. She's often depicted as pregnant, and it's this idea that something is gestating and being ready to be born. Well, we've got it here. It's getting ready to be hatched. The stalk's just got to drop it off. But first, there's an overhaul of circumstances that are required. So what's coming towards you for August, I think, is the discipline. And it's so interesting because this is the second time that this word and the feeling that I have with the word has surfaced quite strongly for a sign. The other sign is actually Sagittarius. So your mutable pal there is also having the same thing. And it's not to trap oneself, and it's not to make things rigid and inflexible and all those kind of things. I mean, that would be anathema to a mutable sign. It's an internal discipline, an internal focus on something in particular. Honestly, sometimes being in the middle of a conversation between my Sagittarius partner and my Pisces daughter blows my fucking head off, because they jump around and I'm like, what's going on? Could you slow down? What do you mean by that? Where did that come from? Where's that in sideways? And sometimes it's like, oh, I just thought about it, so I just opened it up. Whereas I like a consistent thing going on. Well, look at these fucking YouTube videos, man, right? I'm bucking against the tide really fucking hard, because these videos are all coming out at about an hour long, and it's and I go, oh my god, I wish I could be more concise, but like I can't. Like, the way that we kind of move around here, I want to follow the consistency. And sometimes the sparking around is triggering for me, because I'm like, I can't follow what you're doing. Can you stop your brains doing that for just a second? Anyway, it's not always that bad, but sometimes it can be like that. So there's a sense of a consistency that is required to draw around an end, but also initiate a beginning. There's investment that is required from you, and I don't feel like the investment is financial. I think the investment could be in rearranging your finances or overhauling them in some way. The investment seems to be energetic. It seems to be like, this is what I'm going to work out, this is what I'm going to master. And it's a means to an end rather than an end in itself, because what it is, the end, whatever the end may be, the end result of what it is that you're trying to do, is something that sits beyond that. And we've got that Two of Pentacles there, also giving us some additional supporting energy to the idea that is sorting, juggling, working things out, and perhaps it's quite practical in nature. You're like, maybe your house does need a clean up, maybe because you're getting ready to sell or something like that. You're kind of looking around and going, well, I can't really redecorate and make it look all nice and tidy because I've got stuff everywhere, so maybe I'm going to sort the stuff out first and create an easier space for me to work in, to bring this up to a sellable standard. That would be one example of it. But maybe it's something actually quite creative that you're wanting to do. Maybe you're wanting to write a book or paint something, or something like that, and some sort of new creative project. And you're like, well, I don't feel like I have any time, but I'm pretty sure I do have time. So maybe I need to look at my day-to-day routines and my activities and see where, just like I did last week, where you're kind of hemorrhaging, my god, I really struggled with that word there, hemorrhaging time, usable time. Where can I kind of shore that up a little bit? It's a very practical, very focused energy here that is at work on you this month. And fascinatingly, it's accompanied by the Judgment card. Now, for others of you, if you don't have a distinct end in mind just yet, I do feel like it's on its way. Because The one thing that's absolutely solid about this is that change is coming. But I feel like perhaps the focus is on the fact that change hasn't really come as yet. Being quite comfortable. But I wonder if that comfort that you now have with yourself and with your environment, all that kind of thing, is actually making you feel a little bit like you might be becoming complacent. And just as I had that kind of light bulb moment a week and a half ago, like, maybe I could do more if I was just, a little bit different. It seems to me that there's some sort of, I'll just come out with it, right? There's some sort of life-changing decision that you're getting ready to make. Some of you might have made it already, and all this energy of investment and tidying up and drawing things to completion is just to close out something so that you can focus entirely on what it is that you've already decided that you're going to do. For others of you, it's just more of a kind of antsy feeling that something needs to change. And in order to work out what it is that you want to change, what has to end, what you want less of, and what you want to replace it with more of, you need to actually have a look and see what it is that you're doing with your time. Because 70% of what you do in any given day might actually be things that are really bringing some considerable value to your life. But if, like me, you have that kind of zoning thing going on where, an hour will pass and you haven't actually done anything. I do that a lot. Well, no, I haven't done it in the last week and a half, but sometimes I just kind of get lost in my own head, and then, I come to and I'm like, fuck, oh my God. Yeah, staying up late at night as well, when I don't want to. And for some reason I just do, and then it's like 1 a.m. and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I need to go to bed. And then I bitch to myself about the fact that I'm not getting up early enough in the morning to get anything actually usefully done. Well, the answer's staring you in the face. It's just like, get more involved with what it is that you're doing on a day-to-day. Like, pay attention to it rather than doing it on autopilot, which is a lot of what I was doing there. So the discipline and the structure that I feel that Pentacles cards are all talking about here is enabling rather than an end in and of themselves. So like I said, you might know exactly how it is that you're wanting to change your life, and everything that you're doing up until this point is to allow yourself to be able to take whatever's been a pentacle that you didn't need to invest over there and bring it back to this situation. Or it's this antsy feeling of, something's got to change, something's got to change. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to do it. Tell me about this Judgment card. And if you don't know, the chances are that it's going to hit you like, a sledgehammer in August. I could not have done that better, my God. Right. I love tarot for this. So, big life-changing decision here, a transformation here, and that can be a transformation of you, or it can be a transformation of your circumstances. It can be absolutely hand in hand, both together. We've got this idea that there is something that is gestating, that is not quite ready to be born, but very, very close. And then we have the Five of Pentacles and the Tower, no less. And I love this because the Five of Pentacles speaks about a poverty. Right? It speaks about a lack of some sort, and that can be spiritual, emotional, financial, material generating. It can be any of those things. But when you dig into that, I feel like what we're talking about specifically is our own basic needs. Our ability to be able to identify our own basic needs and then do something about it. Now, these two cards together could be read in an extremely negative way. Like, my God, prepare yourself, Pisces, for a massive boot from the universe, and it's going to sting. But with all of the cards that have come preceding it, the context that they provide makes this very, very different indeed. You know, the Judgment card, this big life-changing decision, can actually be a big life-changing realization. And I think that the realization is of the Five of Pentacles. It's the identification of that which is not currently being met by your circumstances. And the Tower is that's what's going to change. You know, the Tower is sudden, shocking energy that just comes in from nowhere, pretty much. It's the things that you don't see coming, but I feel like it's a bolt from the blue for you. It could manifest itself in terms of an opportunity that might come in for you. But I feel like that's a little less likely, just on account of the fact that we've got this King of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. The King of Pentacles is Taurus energy. It's not about taking shortcuts. It's not the opportunistic energy of the Knight of Wands, perhaps, where if we were to see that, it's like, oh, likely there's going to be some sort of opportunity that's coming across your path and you need to be able to pounce on it. More, the King of Pentacles is about creating the structure and doing things in the right order, not taking any shortcuts, and actually having a bit more of a long-term plan on this. And that would absolutely speak to why it would be a life-changing thing, because it's something that's going to have to take place over a period of time. Now, if you look at all of the Pentacles cards that were showing up for you, actually the Earth cards generally, I really, really like the fact that this King of Pentacles is at the bottom here, because he is the absolute epitome of what one does to when one is a master of one's own pentacles, right? A master of the way that we invest our energy and time into something that we want to create. The King of Pentacles is the king of delayed gratification. It's like, well, I might not be able to have this thing right here now, but there's a goal. There's something that I want to do. And I'm now going to put in place the structure that I need in a very Piscean way to allow me to get towards that. I think the Five of Pentacles and the Tower are magnificent cards here, because the work that you've put in from the recent past right up to right in August, the disciplined way that you're going about making sure that all of your pentacles are in the right place, is either literally or metaphorically cleaning house for you. And when you clean house, literally or literally or metaphorically, figuratively even, you create space, and in the space something new can arrive. And this is what you're working towards. I mean, actually August seems to be magnificent. I don't know if there's necessarily much social stuff going on for you, because this feels like almost borderline obsessive, right? Certainly a bit of hyper focus going on here on how we shift and change everything around. And it feels joyful to me, Pisces. You feel, I wonder if this is where this authoritative kind of feeling is coming from. It's like there's almost something condensing about your energy. Describing it as speaking and no one really listening, but that's okay, it doesn't really matter. If you think of that more like an energy where you just kind of, you vibe around, and it's cool, well, like that, it's over there. Maybe it's what you're not used to doing is being of form enough to be able to actively affect things. Like I said, you are substanceless without being insubstantial, or maybe insubstantial without, no, it's not in there. You have substance, but rarely can you perceive its form. And I think that that's changing, because there's substance here that not only you can perceive, that everybody else can perceive too. And there feels to be a certain amount of joy in the way that you are able to affect your surroundings for you specifically. And that feels really, really nice. It feels really, really good. Oh, Pisces, I'm really excited for you. Wondering if, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head what the other mutable signs. It's definitely you and Sagittarius that have got this idea of discipline and focus and structure coming in, but it's something that's inherently yours. We're not talking about the kind of structure that a Taurus would be interested in, or possibly even a Capricorn, right? That would be far too restrictive for you. It's like the essence of the idea of structure, but done in a way that is specifically yours. I like it. Oh, I love it, in fact. Right, I'm going to leave it there because I'm just getting really excited, and I'll just sit here and clap like a seal and go, this is really good, Pisces, for about 15 minutes, which is, you know, no good to man the beast, frankly. So I'm going to go and do the extended now. If you would like to join me over there, you're very, very welcome to do so. You can either do that on Vimeo, or you can come over to Circle, and then you can watch all of the other stuff as well. It's entirely up to you. If neither of those are to your liking, that is also absolutely fine. No shade here. I would go with where the energy is taking you. So if you do feel like you want to have a little tidy up, and figuratively or literally, go with it, because you're creating space and something's waiting to pop through in August, even if it's just an idea at this point. And I think it is an idea rather than necessarily something arriving fully formed at you. The more you can do ahead of time to create that space, the bigger the idea. And I love it. Right. Know that I love you all very, very much. I'm really impressed as well. Take care, and I'll see you soon.